Hey guys, welcome to a new guide. This is going to be kind of an odd one. I'm going to be just doing a live talk through as we go. This is my approach to Telos, kind of how I like to do it, um, how I've been doing it, how I've been pushing. It works for every enrage, because once you hit a certain enrage's HP caps, and that's pretty early on, it's like 200 to 250%. So once you hit that and you realize that damage you're doing and you're phasing him in a consistent way, then really the only thing you need to worry about as you push is the fact that he'll be doing more damage to you. So as long as you can do pretty decent prayer flicks or match his attacks with overhead prayers, you'll be fine. I'm currently at like 2,700%, somewhere around there. So let's kind of go over the gear I use, because I do a little bit weirder things. Hopefully this helps you push. It's just what I've found to be the easiest method. So the inventory is pretty straightforward. There's just a little bit of food. I've found that I'm not really using any food whatsoever on phases 1, 2, and 3. Most of this is getting used up in phase 4, just as to kind of offset the font damage. The portents are there just to kind of help keep me topped up. On the lower enrages, you don't need soul split. You can just kind of match each phase's overhead, and between the ghost and the portents, it'll be totally fine. The higher enrages, you're going to want to flick a little bit just to kind of make life easy. I have the Excalibur and the Ritual Shard. Just the Ritual Shard you probably don't need. It is just free prayer. It's nice on higher enrages at like phase 3, with the red bar getting really tight, because he'll drain your prayer and adrenaline. I have a power burst of vitality, super useful. I have an adrenaline renewal potion. It doesn't have to be a renewal, it can be just whatever you got. The Elder Overload salves and weapon poison, really good. He can be poisoned, so really good. All of my rune pouches, which you can see, you can pause it at any time just to look at what I have, but that's mostly so I can have Disruption Shield and Vengeance. I do have a Death Touch Dart, just in case something goes a little haywire on phase 5. You can just kind of chuck that and save the kill if you need to, if you're doing a streak. Bone Bombs, obviously, and Sticky Bombs, which are really nice. You'll see I have 2 different hotkeys for it. One is so I can manually choose where to throw it, and one is set up where it's just whatever I am currently attacking, that's what it throws. Same with my Vuln, that's the Y and the V. It's just whatever my target is. If I hit either of those, it just goes straight towards that target. I do have a Blessed Flask for prayer. You don't have to have a Blessed Flask. You can just use like a Super Restore Flask or anything like that. For the gear, it's all just full tier 95 gear. I've tested this with the tier 90 tank gear, and it does work. However, the phasing isn't quite as consistent. So if you are finding yourself getting hit and need a little bit of that bolster for defense, you can, but just know that it might not be quite as consistent on the phasing. The Zuck Cape is just really good for Necromancy, for skulls. I have an EOF with the tier 90 spec, which is really nice because it is a very long stun, and it's just a really strong spec. I have the tier 95 weapons, which you can use the tier 90s. That's totally fine, but it would change your rotation a little bit for phase 1, or at least how I would do it, which I will show you. Cinderbanes, because he's poisonable. Your Ring of Death, because phase 5, or phase 4, honestly, it can kind of save a kill potentially. The Nexus, just so you can use your defensives. And then what I do, which is a little different than a lot of people, is you'll see I'm using the Equilibrium aura, and it's a flat 12% damage buff for everything you do. However, it removes your ability to crit. And that's fine for this because that 12% makes this very consistent, because instead of hoping for crits or not crits, it just doesn't matter. You're just getting a flat damage buff. You therefore don't need Grim, you don't need your Reaver's Ring, you don't need Biting or any crit boosting perks whatsoever, because Equilibrium doesn't let you crit, which is kind of nice, so that saves you a lot of money on that end. And then I'm actually using the Illuminated Ancient Book, which is really nice, I've found, at Telos, because it does have a chance to bind, and that bind will actually count to break his freedom if it procs. So it is just really nice at Telos, and the pages are like 10k each, so it's very, very cheap. As for perks, use whatever perks you want. I have Relentless, Crackling, Devoted, Impatient. And then on the legs, this is the only one that kind of matters. I have Clear-Headed 3 and Turtling 4. The Turtling 4 is to give you a longer barricade, which is really nice for phase 5. And the Clear-Headed 3 is just a longer Anticipate, which is really nice for phase 4 and possibly 5 if you get reds. It doesn't have to be Clear-Headed 4. I just did a couple tries, didn't get it. Clear-Headed 3 works just as well. So that's the whole overview of the gear and everything that I use. So with that, I'm just gonna kind of do a live kill. I'm gonna do a 1000% just so it's easier for me to kind of talk while doing the kill, so you kind of have a live commentary of what's actually going on. But like I said, this works at every enrage. This is exactly how I do it, and I'm almost at 3000%, and absolutely nothing changes. I'll kind of try to explain the mechanics as they happen, but the way I'm approaching this, for the most part, your goal is to almost skip all of the mechanics. But if not, you're only going to get 1 or 2. So I will explain all of that. So I'm using a Hellhound because it just makes life easier, takes less damage, which is super nice. I have my Lantadyme and Farm Incense sticks, and so yeah, we're gonna get into it. So while I'm channeling Adrenaline at the start of the kill, I like to just get a Vengeance up and a Disruption up, just because you can, you might as well. If you don't have Disruption or Vengeance, that is totally fine. It's really not a problem. So we'll just start with 1000, send that. You're gonna jump down. This is the only part where it's a little specific, so I'm going to kind of explain what I do before I do it. So you're going to open up with a Skulls, a Bloat, and then you're going to ladder the tier 95 spec. So what I mean by that is you're going to use your tier 95 spec, then a basic. Then Revolution is going to send Touch, and then you're going to use another basic. So you're going to kind of alternate that. And after that, it's going to be just a Soul Sap and a Soul Strike, and that pretty much phases him every single time. So you're going to have your prayers up, get your book on, make sure you're ready to go, and then I do the order of Summon, then Darkness, then Command your Ghost, use Lord of Bones. If you don't have it, that's not a problem. Then Split Soul, Skeleton, and Surge. I like to use Reflect because it's free here. And then Skulls, Bloat, and like I said, tier 95, and then Basic. You're gonna let Revo go, and then Basic. You're gonna do your Soul Sap, and then Soul Strike, and then at that point, you're pretty much gonna phase him. So I got the Tendrils there, but that's not a big deal. It really just is do damage and break the Tendrils. It's up. It'll hit the point where eventually you need to get like 30,000 damage, but that's not really a huge deal. And then I like to go right into my Living Death, and you're just gonna kind of wait for the Black Beam. And I like to actually hop into the Black Beam and get your Mage Prey up. And the reason I do this is because it just kind of stalls him out a little bit. And so once he starts attacking you, have 3 attacks. That was number 2. You're going to use Anticipate, and then I like to use Devotion, and then it just makes the hold still not matter. And then just back into the kill, and it'll phase him pretty quickly. You don't have to camp the black beam, but I just do because I can, so I might as well. And then on this next phase, your goal is to just get into the red beam and dump basics mostly. You don't really need to do anything too crazy, only because the red beam allows you to do a ton of damage. So you can use this to just build stacks and get ready for the phase 4. Like, as you can see, I'm just using basics, and just basics alone is pretty much doing everything that I could possibly need it to do, and I'm not getting any mechanics. I did not touch a single input that whole time. Now, coming into phase 4, just spam Soul Strike. That's the whole reason I let the basics ride, is I want to have 5 stacks, because now you're just literally spamming out all 5 souls, and by doing that, you phase him, and it phases him literally every single time. You're gonna get the golems. I like to just throw a sticky bomb under them, head over here, and I'll like throw a bloat on the volcanic or anything, and then use your anticipate, use a skulls, send a sticky bomb to break his freedom, and then just get ready to spam soul strikes again. And that's all you're doing. And he's already phased. And now as we wander over, I like to just use freedom, invoke death, threads of fate, sap, tier 95, and then a basic. And that pretty much does everything we need. I'll do a reflect and Excalibur at this point, just to make sure that my health is good. And you're gonna send your volley and a basic, and it's done from there. At this point, this is where I like to be able to manually throw my sticky bombs, and I'll throw them kind of right here, just to get everything lined up nice. And at this point, you're gonna invoke and vuln him, and just get ready to literally send anything. You're gonna phase him, and that'll phase, it'll clear him with the invoke death, and you won't get so much power or anything like that. So now you're at 100% adren, and this part's pretty cheesy. I have an action bar, you swap to it. You're literally just gonna fit pot and reflect because it's free. You're gonna invoke, and you're gonna hunt the green beam down. And I got reds, so I'll use anticipate. But now this revo bar is just gonna run, and it's gonna do all the work for me. You can swap to soul split. If your anticipate runs out, you can get ready to use a freedom. But that's it. That's the whole kill, and this works every single time at every single enrage, no matter what. It's really easy. If you happen to get like a back beam, right, you're spawning in over here, then what you can do is you kind of have two approaches. What I like to do is I'll wait and look to see where the beam is. If it's the back, you do one corner step, and then you can surge and dive, and it'll place you pretty close to where the beam's gonna be, and then you just step in it. And if you happen to get the red golems, they'll be still kind of tracking you down over here, and that's another situation where I like to manually throw the sticky bombs, because then you can just throw one over there and it'll kind of lock them in place. So then you don't need to worry about the anticipate or the freedom or getting stunned, and you can just kind of keep spamming sticky bombs because they don't incur the global cooldown or anything, so they won't interrupt you doing damage, and you can just kind of keep stun locking them the whole way around as they're working their way towards you. So that's how I do it. I'll do one more kill, and hopefully the main goal that you'll notice is if you can skip the tendrils on P1, you will get a tendrils right away in P2, so just be ready for that. Otherwise, like I said, that's pretty much my whole approach to Telos, and it's been working for me all the way up to 3000% enrage, hopefully for 4. And like I said, The only time I ate any food was on that phase 4, just to kind of chug some food down while I'm standing in the fonts and taking damage. Um, and yeah, so hopefully this helps. I'm just gonna do one more kill, and yeah, best of luck.